Well, hello and welcome back to Of Slides and Men. Honestly, this is it's a pretty interesting setup for us right now. If you're not watching on YouTube and just listening, you're probably wondering why. But as of right now, me and Benji have three cameras pointed at us. We're sitting down at a table to film this. It's pretty weird. It's definitely a first.
Yeah. If you're not watching on YouTube, though, this is a good reason. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's a good reason, actually. And if you're hopefully, it's not a reason for you to go from YouTube to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure you're very like.
But you know what? You guys do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just thought having a bit of visuals helps. It's nice, and our editor will probably throw in a little few things on screen that might also help with this podcast. So
yeah,
I guess all that aside, it's still going to be a normal podcast. So maybe we should just get into it.
Yeah, so today we wanted to talk a little bit about everyday carries, because for us, and maybe for a lot of you, everyday carries are pretty much our bread and butter for where we end up performing most of the time. Because we're not professional performers. A lot of the performing that we do is, well, most, if not all of the performing we do is impromptu. Features an everyday carry.
By default, it kind of has to be everyday carry because most of the time when we perform, we weren't expecting to perform, and so it just has to be something that can be an everyday carry.
Yeah, and the nice thing, I guess, about everyday carries as well is if you do kind of walk around or weddings or things like that, obviously it fits well into that because it's a nice thing that you can have on with you anytime. It fits with all the other stuff that you're taking to a show or whatever. But yeah, for us, a lot of performances that we do are, again, impromptu. So that's where it becomes, for us, a very important part of our measure.
And let's quickly define, actually, for anyone watching this who is new to the term, like, when did you first hear the term everyday carry? Because I feel like we've just started throwing it around a lot.
There was definitely like in Magic.
Well, for sure, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was after I started working for the Daily Magician.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant when I first saw
for the Daily Magician.
Yeah, well, I did it. At first, I was working for you, right? So
it's funny how you phrase that. Everyday carry. Yeah, maybe they do use that in other industries, but no, I think in Magic is where I've heard it most. It basically just means, we still haven't explained it to the viewer. Basically, it's a piece of magic that you can carry with you every day. So it's something that you'll kind of always have on your person. It's not anything super crazy, large. It's just something can pack small. Either it's totally impromptu, or it's just, I guess technically, when some people talk about everyday carry, by default, does it have to be like a physical item? Because if it's just a method, is that really what you call it an everyday carry? Because it's not actually something.
I suppose not. You'd probably call that an impromptu method.
Yeah. So an everyday carry almost is something physical, potentially. But yeah, so usually it's just like, oh, I got this ring flight gimmick, or this packet trick, or this lunchable, I don't know, just something you would carry around every day. Coin
gimmick or whatever.
Yeah. Obviously, cards themselves could be part of your everyday carry.
Yeah.
But in this little episode, we want to dive into a couple of things. One, we just talked about what an everyday carry is. We want to talk about what we think, by sort of definition, makes for the best everyday carry magic. And then within that category, what effects inside that category are the best. And by the end of this, we may or may not get around to talking about how this one particular thing we're going to talk about is such good everyday carry that it's probably going to replace all the magic apps that we use personally. So stick around and we'll get to that, hopefully.
Yeah, so I guess we should start with the core thesis, which is kind of one of the reasons that we really wanted to record this podcast, which is, and again, this, weirdly enough, will be kind of controversial in the Magic scene, but we think that the only true everyday carry as of right now in the modern era is your phone. I guess you can make an argument for like your keys, your wallet. I can definitely see those being very firm arguments.
But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
A wallet and keys might be an everyday carry, but does that mean that, for example, a ring flight gimmick is an everyday carry? Because maybe everyone carries their rings around. Ring, watch. What? Keys. We're talking about keys.
Yeah.
Yes. How do I describe what I'm trying to say? I don't want to jump the gun, but what you're about to get to is that a phone is probably one of the truest everyday carries, right?
Yeah.
And that's because phones are phones. Whether you bring a phone, someone else brings a phone. If you can do magic with a phone, you're ready to perform at any sort of a moment's notice. However, with keys, it has to be you that is carrying around these gimmick keys. For example, if you're doing like whatever, Scotch and whiskey, is that the thing? I can't remember.
Mhm.
But so even if everyone else is carrying it around, unless you're carrying it around, you won't be able to perform it, which is why I think even that is not as strong of an everyday carry as a phone, because even if you don't have a phone, I can guarantee somebody else will have a phone.
Yeah. And again, like I'm sure you can poke lots of holes in this. I guess you say like pretty much there's always going to be a ring around or whatever. But I guess what we would come back, the rebuttal would be the magic that we're about to talk about that is possible with the phone. It's probably, in our opinion, a lot stronger than something you could do with, for instance, a borrowed ring.
Yeah. So I guess I feel like we've sort of meandered our way to the point, but that is the point, right? That's the first point we want to make, is that as far as everyday carry goes, if you're someone like us who doesn't know when they're going to perform, doesn't really want to be carrying around a ton of stuff in our pockets just in case we do perform, because that's obviously the alternative, is if we don't know when we're going to perform, I guess you could just carry around like everything to be ready. And that's fine. Some people definitely do that, but I just forget, honestly, and I just don't think I would do that personally.
Plus, I don't know. It's just like, again, like what a lot. If you're at the beach, like what are you gonna keep that deck of cards? Is that a deck of cards in your pocket, or you're just happy to see me? So I don't know. I think for us, again, you could definitely make an argument for some people that that what we're saying isn't true, but I think for us, in the most part, it is. So with that, as kind of the accepted thought, we can move into the rest of the podcast.
As long as we're all on the same page, that phone probably is the best everyday carry, because you can do so much with a phone, and phones are so, well, here's a good word for it, ubiquitous. I think I actually said it wrong. Ubiquitous. Keep it in. We want to keep it in. No edits. Basically, everyone has a phone, more or less.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but it's crazy. The places you go to in the world where you wouldn't expect someone to have a phone, but phones are just everywhere. I swear, like in some places there are phones and they're on, I don't know,
like sanitation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just crazy, the ubiquity of the modern phone.
Well said.
Which is why we think, by default, if you can do amazing tricks with a phone, it just makes it the best everyday carry. Obviously, then that's the condition, is if you can do amazing tricks with a phone. If the only thing you can do with a phone is a basic trick, I don't know, hiding it behind your arm and being like, oh, it's gone, right? Then it's probably not. But if you can do some good stuff with it, that's obviously the condition. So maybe that's what we'll move into now.
Yeah. So I guess we should talk a little bit about.
So I got, just for anyone watching, I got this good thing that was on my head. I've got this shelf thing right behind me, so I'm like in a bit of an awkward position, but hopefully it looks alright. I keep wanting to lean back,
but you can't. Yeah, you just stuck in that posture.
I'm trying to do my best.
Yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit about the amazing effects you can do with the phone. So obviously, I guess we'll start like Stranger. That's pretty incredible.
So we get what we're talking about, like marketed products.
Yeah, just like what exists right now that you can do with either your phone or a borrowed phone.
Yeah, Stranger's a good one.
You have obviously Wikitest, which a ton of people are familiar with. That David Blaine really like popularized through that highly viewed video with Margot Robbie. Yeah. You have Inject.
Inject's a big one.
Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, I have that myself. There's a few other little apps as well, like kind of like open prediction type apps where you can kind of open them up and you swipe on your phone and then you go to your camera roll and it will have a card there. There's the drawing. There's like drawing duplications. There's so many. Don't be. I hope anyone that we leave out is just like Enigma. Yeah, another huge one. Christine Grace's kind of prediction. There's so many. There really is. There is an incredible amount of magic you can do. I guess it's like the Twins. They released that one that changes all the Wi-Fi. Hacker. It's not really like I guess you could call it an everyday carry. It's still really strong and it uses the phone. There's so many. I mean, there are literally so many. I mean, when we were at Blackpool, we were talking to Jonathan Levitt, and he's just come out with a system that allows you to Nexus exactly that allows you to connect all these apps together.
Like a digital force bag. That's a big one.
There were literally hundreds. I swear. He was like, "This will connect hundreds of magic apps and let them talk to each other."
Yeah, we tried to remember them right now. There's so many we wouldn't. But obviously, whatever. If we remembered you, we remembered you. But this was no particular order.
There's no hierarchy.
But there's just a bunch basically.
Yeah.
But I think most of what we talked about, those are apps.
Mhm.
There are some things you can do with your phone that aren't apps. Like, I guess back in the day, Toxic Force was a big thing. Not really now, but there's alternatives, you know. Shout out ICF. You can find that on our homepage, thedailymagician.com.
Trace obviously is another one that we
Trace,
just came out
you
with.
can
that
also
uses
find
your
that
phone.
on our homepage.
Yeah,
That's one. Yeah, you can do like prediction effects and stuff.
I guess.
No
Yeah,
apps.
they're talking more about genres rather than specific apps. It really is everything from mentalism to card magic to I don't know, just like insane prediction, drawing duplication. Like there really is.
Well, I mean,
much,
that's
you
kind
know?
of, it mirrors. The more you can do with a phone, the more different kinds of magic you can do. So
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about like Ice Cold Book Test, right? It's a book
Right.
test on your phone. To the extent that you can look up a PDF online, you can do a book test. To the extent that you can use a calculator, you can do sort of mentalism with numbers.
Yeah.
Like birthday guesses and what have you.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you can take pictures of things, then you can do sort of revelations of a pictured object. There's just, because there's so much you can do with a phone, there's so many different effects. Where are we going with all this? I feel like all we've done so far is just list a bunch of apps, which people probably already knew about.
Where we're going with this is just to say we said that a phone is the best everyday carry. Here are all the incredible things you can accomplish with a phone, which we believe show that it is the best everyday carry, because there's just such an infinite amount of incredible magic that you can do using magic apps on your phone or that can be planted or kind of used in some way on the spectator's phone.
Okay, yeah, I think we're in agreement there. Definitely go check all those out. The question then becomes, like, hypothetically, most of those that we've talked about, with a few exceptions, require an app on your phone, which is fine because, as we've said, your phone will be probably an everyday carry for you. You will always have it.
Yeah.
But if there was a way to perform very similar effects of a similar caliber without needing an app, so for example, that you could do them on a borrowed phone, like by definition, would that be a better like everyday carry effect?
I think yes. And the reason I would say that it is because if you take it back to like a card trick, say for instance you take somebody's deck of cards, a deck of cards, you take, I don't know, 10 seconds, even if it's just 10 seconds to kind of glance through the deck, move a few cards here and there, and then you hand it back to them and have them shuffle the deck. That is inherently going to be a weaker effect than they take out their borrowed deck of cards, they shuffle them in their own hands.
So they've borrowed them from someone, or you're borrowing them from them?
As in their cards.
Yeah.
In a magician's term, they become borrowed cards, right? But yeah, they're not borrowed right from themselves. But they're soon to become borrowed cards.
Okay, sorry, keep making your point.
But yeah, let's say they take out their own deck of cards, they shuffle it, they take out a card, want to look at that card, choose that card, then they give you the deck and you perform the effect. That is always going to be stronger than if you touch the cards in the first place. If you never touch the cards, then of course the effect is always going to be stronger.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Obviously, with the apps, a lot of them, like, you don't actually need to touch the phone. Well, I don't really know for sure on all of these, but I feel like a lot of them, like the amount that, I get what you're saying, but it's, I think a lot of the time you can have the app working on your phone and it's quite invisible. But I think even if that is the case, I still think by definition, if you can do it on a borrowed phone, it does become a better everyday carry, right? Because same, I guess, as the card trick. If you could do the card trick using your deck or using their deck, even if it is impromptu, or even if the method is so invisible that they wouldn't see you setting up those 10 cards, just the fact that you do it using their cards would make it stronger, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Interesting. I think the problem historically probably has been, and yeah, obviously we're leading some over this, like, let's not pretend we're...
Well, you'd hope so, right? The podcast does have a narrative.
Right. But, you know, the problem I think historically has been, well, there just isn't a way to do effects that are as powerful as the effects that require apps without apps. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or else, obviously, you would do it without an app.
Right. Yeah, if you could, I think, given the choice. That just hasn't been an option, I think, up until now. Those being the key words. So, yeah, we don't want to jump the gun here, but maybe it's time to talk a little bit about something we've been working on and what our thoughts are on this right now.
Yeah, so it was actually at Blackpool. There's a principle that I've been performing with personally for, I don't even know, maybe 4 years.
Probably something like that.
Yeah, and it's really Like genuinely, when I say it's my go-to, Benji can attest.
Yeah.
It actually is my
Yeah,
go-to. It's my go-to effect, and that effect uses a principle on a phone that is. And obviously, I'm sorry. I know it's always sucks to be like, oh, what's the principle? Obviously, we're magicians. We're not going to just share that publicly. But I will tell you that it's a really, really simple principle that essentially, in the application that I've been using it for, allows you to predict any song that somebody chooses on
or
their
guess
phone,
the song, I guess,
or guess the song that they've chosen on their own phone. It's a really cool looking effect. Essentially, what it would look like to the spectator is they go on their phone, they pick any song that they like,
and they're doing this like in Spotify.
Then they turn off their phone, skip as many times as they want on their home screen. When they open back up their phone, you take it back from them, and you're able to tell them.
You're able to say like, oh look, here are all the songs it could have been. No way I should be able to know, but I think it's this one.
Exactly right. Yeah, I think in terms of a card effect, how that would look is basically they take their own deck, they shuffle it, they take a card out, they look at it, they put it back in the deck, they shuffle the deck, then they hand the deck to you, and you're able to deduce what card they picked. That's kind of that's how strong it can feel for people.
Yeah, but okay, and that's really cool. But I think the important thing to point out now is that obviously you've been doing that for years. I haven't really. I don't know why. I just never quite clicked with me the same way that it clicked with you from the beginning. I think maybe because I didn't understand the principle, but I didn't know how like surefire the principle was. So it's a bit like, oh, I don't know, it's a bit risky. And then flashback to like again Blackpool. We were talking to some people, and we realized that this principle that we can use in this application, or in this, I don't say application like an app, but in this way of using it, can also be used for just a bunch of other things. And basically any effect that you can dream up using a phone, this principle could be used to enable you to achieve it.
Yeah, and obviously don't oversell it. It's not like I don't know. It's not like the elixir of life. Like there are limitations, but in terms of like your kind of classic book tests, looking up a page on Wikipedia, looking at
an image on
an image on Google Images, photo library, all of those things.
Or like writing down someone's like name, you'd say what you would like a paper or something, like but doing it on a phone. Drawing something like. Basically, I said anything, but more or less most classic mentalism effects you can think of, there's a way to achieve them using this principle on a borrowed phone.
Picking a number, drawing duplication. There's just so many. And it's crazy because one, it uses a borrowed phone, and it doesn't use a borrowed phone in the way that you might have seen a lot of other effects work. It's not like you take the phone from them and you hand it back. You pretty much never touch the phone until the very end. In fact, you don't. You only touch the phone once, and it's completely motivated when you do. It's not. Again, there's no setup required.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, this is done on a borrowed phone, but actually you secretly have this little chip here that will load something in. Which some people do that. That's clever and it works in its own way. But like this, if you're comfortable with doing that, personally, I find those ones a little bit like. Bit nervous, like what if I get caught? It seems like a scary thing to do, to be loading scripts on someone's phone. I don't know. There's a bit of a gray area there, but plenty of people use it. So, but this is not that. This is purely like if you left your phone at home, and I think this is why we're saying it's like the best version of the everyday carry that we're talking about. Even if you left your phone at home, you could just do this on their phone. And if you're at the beach, you're just wearing your swimming trunks or swimming costume, whatever. If that's all you had on you and you went up to someone and they had a phone,
you'd be chill. You're good to go. You're good to go. Obviously, we should say there are a few restrictions. It works best on an iPhone. It does work on some Android. You kind of have to play around with it a little bit. It does work though on some Android. And the nice thing is, again, obviously it's not everywhere. I know that there's more Android users in the world than iPhone users, as Android users like to constantly point out. Which is fine. But
we're not mad.
not salty. But we should say like it does work it's hard, and there's so many Android models. There are literally so many, but it does work on quite a few of them, as far as I know. But the nice thing is, again, in most situations, at least one person in your group is going to have an iPhone.
Yeah, and this is actually the really nice thing about this. When we were talking about it, we were like, oh, so it's like, you know, easiest if you just use an iPhone. But then we were like, you know, is it going to be another one of these products where we can only sell and only kind of magicians with an iPhone can really benefit from this? And then we were like, wait, that's stupid, because you're performing this for other people. It doesn't really matter which phone you personally have. The whole point is it's on a borrowed phone. And in, like Jacob said, in most cases, there will be someone with an iPhone.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, we don't want to play around too much. We should just speak about the specifics of this project. This is a project that we've been working on with Antonio Bourgeois and Stephen Bridges. It's going to be a great project. And it uses a principle that Stephen found a long time ago, and Antonio kind of built upon to create something that has become like a real monster.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It literally is crazy how many effects you can do with it.
I should put the screenshot in the chat up on the screen of when Stephen in the chat was like, we were just coming up with so many ideas with this that at one point Stephen literally said, guys, are we sure we still want to release this? Which he says is the first time he's ever thought that. So
yeah. And also it's pretty hype that Stephen's he hasn't released a magic effect in a long time.
Yeah.
If anyone knows Stephen Bridges, again, we can put his details here. He doesn't really need a shout out from us. He's got many more millions of views and subscribers than we do. But Stephen,
and that's the thing. That's the other thing about this is Stephen isn't just doing this product because he wants to make a quick buck, right?
No.
Like he's not moved on, but he's just doing something other than magic right now. He's not on that hamster wheel of like creating magic effects, which in some ways people like us will say it. We're more on that than Stephen is. We still try and make sure everything we put out is top quality, but we have more of an incentive to be like, okay, what can we create, which, you know, works for us, works for you. But Stephen is the kind of person who he's not sat there thinking, what can I create and like push upon the magic community. He's literally doing this because he's like, this is just the best.
Just a winner.
We need to make this. People need to know about this. Yeah. I don't need to be making this right now. I got my other thing going, but you know what? We got to get the word out about this. So
yeah. As of right now, we still have the filming day to come. Actually, tomorrow and the day after, we will be filming on the streets of London, which, to be fair, bit of a bucket list item. I don't know if you guys know this. I think we have spoke about it in another podcast. Probably there was a podcast with Stephen. But we were big Stephen Bridges fans when he was making magic YouTube videos. And in fact, Benji met him on the streets performing in London.
Yeah.
So as we go full circle and be releasing a project with him where we will inevitably have to film a bit of street magic is
pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the point of all this? Do we have a point? What, if anything, can you walk away from this feeling like you've gained or you've learned? First of all, obviously, just the news that we have this new project coming. Hopefully, that's interesting to you. But secondly, if you still on the fence about this, obviously, just wait. We'll give more details shortly. We just wanted to get the word out initially, but then come at it from the angle of just discussing everyday carry in general and our thoughts on everyday carry and why we think phones are the best everyday carry, and as such, apps are among the top tier of effects for us because they play into that phone. And then, you know, maybe one step further, if you can do some of this stuff without an app, then that's obviously it's a bold claim. So, you know, don't just take our word for it.
I don't even think did we even say that? I think that's the other thing we should say. This is not an app.
It's not an app, yeah.
Yeah, you can do all of this just with a normal phone.
Right.
You don't have to do anything to that phone.
And it's not like Wi-Fi dependent. I mean, maybe if you're saying like Google an image,
it's not
Wi-Fi. That's the trick. They need Wi-Fi to Google the image, but the trick itself is not Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And there's no setup on their phone. You won't leave any mark on their phone. Yeah. It's literally just
no shortcuts, no apps, no
nothing.
Wi-Fi.
Literally nothing.
No like watch syncing.
Just a really cool feature of the phone that can be used and harnessed to create some incredibly powerful magic.
I think so.
Anyway,
I was just thinking about everyday carry. And you know how earlier we were like, is it still everyday carry if it's just a method? Is this still everyday carry? How do you even define everyday carry? I would call this everyday carry.
We're really going to end this with like, and we don't actually know what an everyday carry is.
So I hope you learned something. We kind of have unlearned something.
Yeah, maybe we never knew it in the first place.
You can correct us in the comments. Feel free. We'll do anything for the engagement.
Yeah, please insult us down below.
Please just let us know. Let us know what everyday carry really means. But I'll call this everyday carry. I think.
Yeah. But yeah, we're really excited to get this project into your hands. Like we said, please let us know down below what do you think are the best everyday carries. How much do you disagree with us? How wrong are we?
And what are your favorite Magic apps as well? Get the word out about those and all the other ones that we've mentioned. Go check out. We hope to create a new sort of genre, almost of phone Magic with this, but we still think there's a lot of you got to put some respect in the names of those apps because they've done a lot of heavy lifting and they've done some great stuff. So yeah, go check them out for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess that really brings the podcast to a close. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
And we will see you next Wednesday.
Ciao.